Sommers Taylor, and she is the program coordinator for the Oregon Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. So you can talk to us about the Core 3 project, the training facility they're building or proposed to build right east of town. And with that, help me welcome Sommers.
Thanks, Dave. I have to go too, but I just want to say thanks for being kind, and I will see you guys at another meeting. Bye. Thank you very much.
Stay in school.
I will.
Stay cool.
Push.
Okay, bye.
All right, folks, thanks for having me here. Just a little side note, thank you for everybody's happy dollars for Florida. My younger sister is a nurse down in Tampa. So while everybody's evacuating, my sister is staying put. So yeah, very heavy on my mind right now. So thank you all for this quick mention. But as Dave mentioned, I'm a program coordinator with Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. A few folks have come up to me and said that they know Tammy Bainey. Tammy Bainey is our executive director over at COIC. I am in the Community and Economic Development Department, and we have a slew of projects that come into us. One of those being natural hazards and emergency response. And this is one of the projects that falls under those categories, which is Core 3, the Central Oregon Ready, Responsive, Resilient Project. Just to dive into a little bit about what Core 3 is and how it came to be, hazard intensity, as we're all aware, is growing and is a growing threat, increasing threat to Central Oregon, as well as the state of Oregon, the whole Pacific Northwest, and down to California. We face threat of Cascadia Subduction Zone event, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, the big one, which one projected to hit the earthquake. It is projected to wipe out the west coast from up to Washington down to parts of California. In the event of that big one, Redmond has been identified for the state of Oregon as the incident support base, meaning state officials and agencies would come to Central Oregon to continue their functions and continue the operations of the government. Currently, right now, Central Oregon lacks infrastructure to meet those needs and to also support those needs. In addition to lacking infrastructure in the event of a catastrophic event such as Cascadia, there is also a need from the local agencies and emergency personnel for facilities and infrastructure to meet their training, their mandatory training requirements. The region needs a dedicated space where these multiple agencies can train simultaneously as well as collaboratively. Right now, agencies such as police department, emergency management, fire, they're all making do with what is currently in the region. We have Bend Police Department that goes up to Mount Bachelor and can use the parking lot when they're doing things like training with their cars, etc. But competing with some scheduling. So right now, there's an identified need between all of the agencies to have a facility where they can also meet that need to get their requirements. A lot of folks right now will travel over to Salem. DPSST is supporting those trainings right now for agencies across the whole state. So as you can imagine, a lot of competition trying to get in there for every single officer's training requirements. The solution to meet these needs has been Core 3 right now. Back in about, I think, 2006, so way before my time on this project, some local emergency managers as well as local law enforcement folks, instructors at COCC got together and talked about the need to get something started. They recognized that if Cascadia were to hit, it would be hard to meet the needs of what needs to happen in Central Oregon to meet the state needs. Those folks, the emergency managers, local enforcement, reached out to the University of Oregon, the IPRE department, and I'm sorry, the acronym is caught away from my mind. IPRE did a feasibility study for a facility like this in Central Oregon. So a facility that could act as an emergency operations coordination center as well as a training facility. From that feasibility study, they saw that a project like this would be completely viable. So those local emergency managers, with help from University of Oregon, got in contact with Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, my agency, to see if we could kind of provide the project management, the project support, and to kind of get the project up off the ground. We've been project managing the project ever since. So it has been a very long time with this group of folks. And some of these folks have been, we've had some folks that have retired, left their professions, but there's a good handful of folks that have been very invested in this since 2006. This is what the envisioned full build out of the campus would look like. It has very, very many different components. What we're calling phase 1 right now is what you would see in these dark blue grids. We have an EVOT course, a driving skills pad, a recycling pond, a Class B burn building with drops, as well as the admin and ECC building. Later phases would include everything else that you see here, such as an indoor range complex, multi-purpose scenario area, some off-road trainings, and I've got a full list coming up. But this is what the facility would look like at full build. These are some examples and renderings of what the ECC, so the Emergency Coordination Center, would look like. Again, this would be something that could be used in the event of a catastrophic emergency where agencies can continue collaborating and working with others to make sure safety is still in place for citizens and community members. We have some classroom space for emergency personnel to meet their training needs. We hope that there's not an emergency every single day. So the facility would be used to meet those training requirements, but in the case of an emergency, these classroom spaces could be doubled for that emergency response as well. And then the emergency vehicle operator course, which is right here, a big slab of pavement so that people can do their driving trainings that they need. Could also be used to stage and supply materials if need be. There is a lot of interest from a lot of our local agencies to be able to utilize an EVOT course that's big enough to meet their training requirements right here in Central Oregon. So that's why this EVOT course is part of phase 1, as well as the other components that I've talked about. All of these first phase 1 components are the ones that we've heard from all of our local agency partners as well as our state agency partners that they have interest in using. This would be the Burn B fire tower with drops. Just to note that this burn building would not actually create real smoke. It's something that they would be able to use natural gas, propane, something that they could, something that they can control the smoke for. And so it would not create real smoke, it would not cause a threat to citizens. So the things that we have been identifying as priorities right now are all those 4 major components we just went over, as well as site prep, utilities, and environmental remediation. And that's kind of where COIC right now we've kind of been in the weeds for, is getting all of that up and ready. The property that we're working with is a 300-acre parcel just east of the Redmond airport, right by Oasis Village, if you all are familiar with that facility. As of right now, in terms of site prep, we have started doing some juniper removal out on site, and then we'll begin doing some environmental remediation. The site previously was used as the old Redmond Rod and Gun Club, and there's known to be some old World War II artifact something out there. So the environmental remediation process will go through and log all of that and see what parts of the property need to be remediated before we can start building on it. Later, After site prep, utilities, environmental remediation is all done, we would focus on building the rest of this facility out. Just to note that this full build out of the facility, we're not expecting to just happen overnight. This is long-term thinking, 30, 50, if not more years to get this campus to full scale. And this is what we're imagining the full build out to be. You guys have seen that a couple of times now, but this is a new one for you. So we've got the indoor gun range, we've got these parking lots, we've got some stimulation classrooms. Way out in the back, you can see the EVOC course, so a full campus build out. Partners are the ones leading this effort. Again, at COIC, we are just the project management support. So once the facility is built, we will not be using the facility. Once it gets up and running, once the group decides on what their operations and maintenance structure is going to look like and what entity will be running it, COIC will take a step back. But it's a really great project that we're really proud to be a part of. We do have 28 partner agencies currently at the table. That's a slew of like 23, 25 local agencies, as well as some state agencies at the table. This is our list of partners that are currently at the table, helping us make decisions and carry the project forward. We are getting approached frequently for the people who are interested in being a part of the project. It's just people are hearing lots about it, they're hearing about it being centrally located, and folks are really eager to learn about the project. Right now, this is what we are focused on. The land use process has been extensive. We have gone through about 2 years of a land use process. We've had 11 to 12 applications that we've submitted, and we are nearing the end of that process. Deschutes County and the City of Redmond have been really great partners to work with on that as we go through the entire thing. Design and engineering is going to be phased. Right now, we actually have our design and engineering request for proposals, so our RFP out right now to bring on a design and engineering firm for what we're calling phase 1. Next, we have the state engagement session. We're gearing up right now to make a pretty large funding request for the 2025 legislative session. And coupled with that, we're also working on some federal engagement. We've had some conversations with Lori Chavez-DeReamer. We've also had some conversations with Wyden's office. So we're navigating both state engagement as well as federal engagement. Next, we will focus on the partition and land transfer. Again, Deschutes County currently owns the land, but they've dedicated it to us for the project. Once all the land use entitlements are done, COIC will be the temporary holder until the agencies form their own ORS 190. This is just a brief timeline of what we're looking at. In 2020, we started a strategic business plan that we're actually working on updating, getting some new numbers for right now. And up until currently, working on a lot of land use entitlements. The group formalized under an IGA agreement, and we're currently working on fundraising. Hoping to break ground in spring of 2026. Right now, there's part of the site prep is developing 21st Street that will serve both Oasis Village and the Core 3 site, and that's expected to happen spring 2025. This is our portfolio right now of funding that we have received. From local agencies have been the biggest contributor by far. With donating just about $1 million to project development costs, which go directly to supporting COIC's time, our consultants' time, etc. We've had some investment. Oh, and I don't want to forget that the piece of property that Deschutes County donated to us is valued at $13 million. So that's a very big local contribution that we've had. The state has also made some investments in the project, And then we've also had a federal earmark from FEMA for $1.75 million, which goes directly to design and engineering of that emergency coordination center building. We're trying to fill a gap right now to meet $30 million more to be able to develop that first phase of the project. Our chair right now is Commissioner Tony DeBone. He's been really engaged with us. He chairs the Core 3 Executive Council, followed by two vice chairs, Ben Chief of Police Mike Krantz, and then Jefferson County Fire and EMS's Chief Jeff Blake. And then at any given time, there's usually 3 of us from COIC that are on the project. Scott Acock, Shelby Knight, and myself, but it has been known to get upwards of 6 of us just because there's such a great project, everybody wants to be involved, and there's a lot moving with it. So yeah, that's the rundown of Core 3 at a very high level. I'd be happy to answer some questions if folks have some. Yeah, Amber.
Have you seen any opposition to the project?
We haven't seen a lot of folks. We've gotten some questions from folks specifically about the fire tower being worried about smoke. But again, since it's not going to be emitting any smoke, we've been able to kind of work through that. We are very aware of the amount of folks that are living out on the property right now, and have been in a lot of communication with the Deschutes County and Redmond service providers to start communicating with those folks. So we haven't heard too much during our public input processes. We've had a lot just in terms with the land use process. So far those have been what has come up, and we've been able to mitigate them. Yeah, I had 4 hands that went up at once. Awesome.
Just a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, is it me? I can't.
go for it. We'll start
Okay.
here.
You mentioned.
I'm just curious.
Land.
It's a very expensive
I'm
project.
so sorry. We've got 2 questions
Oh,
going on
sorry.
at first.
Go ahead, Dick.
You have a big expensive project going on here. My question is, there's a whole lot of land over at Dexter. Couldn't you partner with them and cut your costs back?
That's a great question. I think because of the specific needs that we have with the facility, there's some things that the Expo wouldn't be able to provide for the partners that we need.
I understand that, but you can build those.
Yeah, so we have a lot of partners, and the Expo is probably going to be one that we work closely with as we continue to move forward. What was that?
Okay, small question. You mentioned World War II something, relics?
Artifacts.
Are you talking
Dumping.
ammunition?
Yes.
Or maybe? Okay.
Yes, we're talking dumping artifacts that they'll go out and they'll log, make sure to clean up before we can start any breaking ground.
Thank you.
And rusty cans from a dump that's out there from
Yeah.
World War II.
Have you been approached by any of the private sector in partnering or collaboration with this project?
We have been. So in terms of as we work on developing our operations and maintenance fees and schedules, we have spoken with some private equity firms. It tends to get a little blurry since it is a public facility serving public needs. But it is something that we have been asked by the Core 3 Executive Council to explore as we're exploring all of our funding options.
Interesting, I wouldn't go there on the private equity.
It's been
Personally, but
yes, we can get more into that, but yes, we've explored it, but as of right now, it's not the option that the group wants to move forward with.
yeah. My question more along the lines of, again, my ignorance here, is how much on a 7-day-a-week basis that facility, once that program is built, how much it's going to be used 7
Yes.
days a week, because we're technically waiting for the big one and preparing, which we need to do. But think like gun range or training facilities that other organizations around town could be a part of, that could kind of help defray some of those costs straight to the taxpayer. That was kind of the line of my question.
Got it. Yeah, we are, right now the group's not leaning towards the private equity model. Right now looking at operating under this ORS 190 model. We are updating the strategic business plan numbers to understand how often and how much the facility would get used by a group we're calling our core partners, so those local agencies, as well as surveying some outside users from across the state, so all the way out to Burns, seeing how much they would expect to use the facility, so that we can understand those numbers to see how much the facility would get used and how much it would cost to keep the facility up and running. Yeah.
Again, I hope it's a small question. Years ago, we moved the Rod and Gun Club because of conflicts with the airport use. How is this not a conflict with the airport?
So the airport is one of our partners on the project. I'm not too sure how they're mitigating what the FAA rules and regulations are, but I do know that in terms of like using the burn building, the airport and the users of the facility would be in close communication to understand when things can and cannot be used out there. But this Redmond Airport is one of our biggest partners, so they've got some plans to move forward. I'm not sure about the exact. Yeah.
Just an FYI, but the idea of having a center for training, safety responder training and so forth has been on a feasibility platform clear back to the 70s. And there was feasibility in a study that was completed in the 80s that justified the use of a similar kind of project, just utilizing statewide and a regional-wide, Idaho, Washington, and so forth, members or participants in the public safety sector for vehicle training, initiatives training, fire training, all that that goes way back in the community. And lots of work that has been done was very positive back there, but the resource, the funding, the gathering, the motivation, all that was not quite adequate to come up with all the money, as one would guess. So this is actually just a fulfillment of something that's been on the table for decades.
Yes, yes, that's what we're hoping to fill, is that gap of the need that's been there for quite a while.
Question?
And I'll stick around too for other questions.
Since this is a project that would basically be used as outside the training, what you call it, every day, but as an emergency for the big one. What kind of interface have you had with the people on the other side of the mountains, what their names might be and how that would mesh?
Yeah, so we've had a lot of communication with folks. Erin McMahon, who is the director of OEM, she's one of our most active partners on this. So we have a lot of engagement with her. DPSST has been at the table. Right now, they are identified as the training center. So until that changes, they're at the table and are aware of what's going on and help lead us in the right direction with the awareness that they are the center for training. But there's been, we've had a lot of involvement with DAS, DHS's, OREM, the Office of Resilient and Emergency Management. We've had a lot of engagement with them as well. So there's a lot of folks from over in Salem who are at the table too.
Okay.
And
I think we're done.
Okay, and I'll stay after for more questions. Yes, I'll stick after
Thank
for
you.
some more questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. In Michelle's very positive tradition, we have a quote about the topic today. And it's a quote from Arthur Ashe, of all people. It says, "Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can." Okay? So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Over here. Who can take a break? Yeah, Ken?
That was a slow reaction.
Were you?
Oh, great.
Barbara, can we?
Yeah, if you don't, you're in trouble.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
And so